Hello and welcome to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This is going to be a pretty silly 2v2 custom game. And yeah, it's not exactly the highest quality sort of play here, but it is going to be pretty interesting. So it's going to be me and Jake. I'm going to be the purple human here. Jake is going to be the teal orc. And I think we're going to go for a Paladin, Tauren, Chieftain strategy. Now this strategy is, these heroes and the strategy is probably geared towards sort of massing units, mass ground armies, specifically probably tier 1 and 2 is sort of when it's strongest. Maybe tier 3 since the armies will be very large then, but yeah, these are two aura heroes, and one is a healer and one is sort of a damage dealer in the Tauren Chieftain, and they're both strength heroes, so they're both actually pretty good tanking heroes. And also you can get Divine Shield with the Paladin, so you know, not only for healing, but you can really make your Paladin nearly unkillable. Not necessarily unkillable, but very hard to kill once you get like higher level with, you know, maybe one or 2 points in Divine Shield if you choose not to go for the aura. Though I think I will be going for the aura for the upside for everything that we've got, and just try to rely on my micro to keep the Paladin alive. So, but anyway, I was gonna go try to creep up my Paladin. And he's not really a very strong harass hero, especially against Elf Orc. If you were against Undead, maybe he could be a decent harassing hero, because Holy Light can be used offensively against Undead units, as you probably know. But if not, you know, there you go. So, but this guy's going to be harassing me with a Blade Master. I think he actually does manage to steal probably this null, which is really annoying. But he ends up taking a bunch of damage. He's only used, it looks like, one Windwalk. So that's pretty solid on his part. And he does have a shop, so he will be able to go over there and get healed up with Healing Salve. I'm just going to break off and go creep his green camp. I don't know if he expects me to do that or not, but I try to get us around that footman or grunt, and I fail. And I'm going to creep one of his gnolls. I pull back and try to get some more damage on the Blade Master because he was using clarities and stuff. And then I'm just going to try to get some of this experience. Now, this is going to be sort of a, again, he gets the bigger null, so pretty solid, but it requires him to go take a bunch of damage and use, you know, a Windwalk to do it. Right in the gobber. So, so yeah, me and Jake have been doing this sort of troll thing where we will try to talk with some, like, I don't know, like UK slang or something like that. It's probably really ridiculous, but just for the lulz. So, but yeah, the goal is for me to actually get level 2 or 3 pretty quickly. Same for Jake. And Jake is well on his way. I've been sort of back and forth with Blue, so we're both sort of behind in terms of the creeping. Let's see, where's his hero? Yeah, he's being really sort of try hard and harassing with his hero. I probably got there early enough to heal. I'm not sure why I didn't, but at any rate, I do have this arcane tower here, so he's going to have to be, you know, a little bit more careful than he otherwise would have. Notice he's only got 35 mana, so in the meantime, I'm just going to go creep the shop, I think. I don't know if I have defend yet or not. Maybe I don't. Probably don't. Cutting it pretty close with that up. Luckily, I managed to grab that Tome of Experience immediately, and then I dust. And I see that he is there, so I'm going to pull back. And he didn't get to sneak any of those kills or the Tome of Experience, which is fortunate for me. But he is going to go finish up this camp, which is somewhat annoying. He's actually doing a pretty good job, to be honest. If not for that Tome of Experience, he'd probably be ahead of me in terms of experience, and he's going to be pretty close anyway, actually. So, in terms of army size, he's got 5 grunts. I've got 3 footmen and 4 riflemen, so I've got more units than he does. I decided I'm going to go hit Blue's base on the assumption that he might be hitting tier 2 around this particular point. Looks like Jake's about to hit tier 2. The other guy, the elf, is already at tier 2. He's been there for a bit since he's somewhat done with these Ancients of Lore. You should probably construct those in the back of your base if possible, because it's going to be more vulnerable in the front like that. Specifically for a timing attack like this. Now, Blue actually hasn't started taking at all, so this is, my theory was not exactly sort of relevant here, since he didn't tech at all. Hopefully I kill this farm or burrow. Oh jeez, I didn't kill it. That's sad. But anyway, and he got a Scourge Bone Chimes finishing up the camp I was creeping, so that's actually very bad. That would have been good for our army when we fight together, or just give it to Jake's hero because he's got the melee units. More melee units than I've got left anyway at the moment. But yeah, they're going for a Keeper of the Grove Alchemist. This is sort of a standard elf combo now because they've buffed up these two heroes so much that they're like pretty much incredible together. Specifically, the Alchemist I always thought was pretty underrated. And the same, maybe not the Keeper. You saw the Keeper used fairly frequently in team games and stuff. He does have some notable weaknesses in smaller game types, and even larger game types. So he's got, you know, in some. He's probably best in like a 2v2 situation, but anyway, Jake is going to be trying to haul this elf. He TP's in, and Jake just decides to go ahead and throw down some shockwave, a shockwave right on the archers. Again, grunts versus archers. Jake should be in pretty decent shape. He needs to be careful of his hero, of course, but again, grunts are going to dominate archers heads up, and you know, it doesn't look like positioning is going to save him. If Jake has any more mana, does he have enough mana? He got enough mana for another shockwave. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing. I guess he was pulling back to join me, which I guess makes some sense there. But yeah, as far as like the timing attacks, you know, if you can try to time up when your opponent's going to get tier 2, either by scouting or just sort of knowing in the back of your head some timings. You know, it can be very beneficial to cancel tier 2 buildings. They're going to lose a lot of resources even if they cancel it. And the timing issues that you can cause them often are going to be very, very strong advantages, assuming that you know, everything else is going pretty much the same. So Blue is like totally botching this defense here. He's like running through the creep camps. He's not time portaling for whatever reason. He doesn't have the vampiric aura with his grunts actually. Now it is. It is there. And, yeah, but at this point it doesn't matter because Red's pretty much gotten rocked. Jake's army is Jake. Oh, Jake had to. Did Jake town portal? No, he's just lost a bunch of units. Okay, so yeah, we've pretty much won this game though, honestly. We knocked out both of the Ancients of Lore, which were really Red's biggest threat. We don't really care if he makes, you know, archers or even huntresses out of one Ancient of Lore, because I've got mass rifles to deal with hunts, Jake's got mass grunts to deal with archers, so that'll be pretty much easy. So yeah, this game is mostly over here. Yeah, that's the strategy, trying to take advantage of these auras. You notice I've got level 2 Devotion aura. And Jake actually has the True Shot, or Lara's Flute of Accuracy. So let's see. I tried to dodge this Blade Master as much as I could with the Zeppelin, and I'm gonna get a little bit sort of try-hard mode here, dropping and picking them up because I know that Blade Master is somewhere lurking, and I know he certainly wants to kill these riflemen. Boop, boop, picking them up and dropping them. So the riflemen are going to immediately like target stuff when they hit the ground, and if I'm quick enough, I should be able to pick him up before he can really react, specifically with the Blade Master, because the Blade Master has to force. Oh, it looks like I dodged that attack, or I'm not exactly sure there, but yeah, it looked like I was able to dodge his attack as he came out of Windwalk, which is actually pretty sort of lucky and sort of hard to do. It doesn't really make a difference here. I could have lost that rifleman and the game wouldn't have been any different, honestly, but it was just funny to try to do that. But yeah, the strategy, you know, a level 2 Devotion Aura is giving everything plus 3.5 armor. So I'm not sure exactly how much that comes out to. I think every point of armor is like 6% damage reduction. So 3.5 would be 21 if I did the math correctly. Percent damage reduction, which is pretty solid. Well, no, that can't be right because he's got 5.5 and he's only got 25%. Huh? Maybe it's 4%. Yeah, that makes. Yeah, that makes it closer. 4.5. I don't know, but 5 is 5.5 is 25% damage reduction. So a little bit more than half of that in this scenario is going to be from Devotion Aura alone. So yeah, it'd probably be somewhere around, I don't know, 15%. Yeah, 15% maybe, or 14%. Something like that. So it's a pretty solid amount of damage reduction for everything. Not just your heroes, not just your specific types of units, but every single unit and every single hero that's in range of Devotion Aura gets that. And then you've got Endurance Aura, which of course is 5% attack speed and a 10% movement speed every level. So level 2 is 10% attack speed, 20% movement speed, which again is really solid in terms of damage output, and that's for every single unit, hero in range, including magic immune units, ranged units, casters, all that stuff. So windwalked units, etc., are going to get that, or not units, but a windwalked hero will get that. So yeah, that's, you know, the sort of strength of auras. Let's see, I'll go ahead and do another game here. Let's check and see what's going to be. I think this next game was actually a loss, if I remember correctly. I'm going to try to show you, which is not something I will usually save, but it's on the last replay, and it was a pretty interesting game. Me and my other friend, Pat, were in this game, and it's another custom game. So there's a bunch of observers. We do sort of a janky strategy, sort of thought up on the, well, I don't know about thought up, but decided upon on the fly, and it didn't synergize, if I remember correctly, very well. And our execution wasn't the most amazing. So we'll see how this goes. He's got Orc, and I've got Elf. So we'll do it from my perspective. The map is Twisted Meadows like the previous game, and our opponents are going to be human and undead. So an interesting combo. You do not often see undead and human together, but they do a pretty solid job with it. Some of that's going to come from sort of the weirdness of the strategy that we're going to do. So, but yeah, I scout immediately. I'm going to be going for a Keeper, Huntress build. I actually sort of goof up the build, and my first Huntress is a bit delayed, so that's a bit of an issue. I don't know if it would have made really that big of a difference, but it probably would have maybe netted me like one more kill or something. Got some more pressure. So basically what this guy is going to do, he's going to go for the typical Archmage opening. Looks like Teal will probably go for the typical Death Knight Fiend build. Yeah, so, but what Purple is going to do, if I remember correctly, is Militia creep this Mercenary camp, which should be more difficult now that they've nerfed the Militia timing, for sure, but he's going to pull it off relatively well, despite actually getting harassed by me here. So, let's see, he's pulled, how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Militia. He saves that one with 17 hit points, pretty impressive. Looks like he's fairly, he's executing this very well, actually. Trying to minimize the time that his Militia are moving around and maximize the amount of time they are damaging the creeps. I tried to last hit some of these creeps for sure. I'm still trying to get militia kills or peasant kills as well. But yeah, it looks like I actually did steal the troll, but I didn't steal anything else. Which again, if I would have been able to steal the rock golem, that would have been massive. But he still gets level 2, even though I stole the troll kill. I think I killed 2 peasants at least. He might have lost 3. I think a creep might have killed one of them. So that's pretty solid. In the meantime, Pat is doing a decent job harassing the undead. I've got a wisp sitting here, so if I sort of... if at some point I manage to detonate a bunch of skeletons, that should be pretty good. The one thing about the human, though, is with water elementals and then with Brilliance Aura, he's going to be able to creep very aggressively, even in the face of harassment typically. Since I went for militia, I went for economy damage because the militia are easier to kill. I can almost guarantee kills on a peasant if I entangle it, especially if it's taking some damage. Whereas the footmen are a lot more of a sort of, you know, gamble to try to kill those. So he's going to coil that grunt. Really unfortunate that he got it. I didn't detonate all 4 of those skeletons, but it's okay. We entangle one of these fiends. The bad news about all of this, though, is the human has access to the mercenary camp, so he's going to be able to quickly bolster his forces. And in the meantime, since we're harassing the undead, he's going to get a chance to freely creep. We're going to steal some of the undead's creep camps, which is good. Teal actually, with that grunt kill, he's in decent shape. I don't know if he's killed any wolves or whatever, but he's doing, you know, he's maybe 40% of the way to level 2. I'm a little bit late on harassing this. It would have been really nice if I could have killed that footman. I do entangle one of the footmen, so I am going to get one of these kills. But again, you notice he's adding the troll, shadow priest, and the berserker. He's almost level 3. Again, if he had killed that troll, he might actually have gotten. I don't think he would have gotten level 3, but I'm not entirely sure. It's possible he would have gotten level 3 there. But again, with entangle and wolves, though, this is sort of a classic sort of hero harass combo. So it's pretty good. I said it was a janky strategy. I really mean the units here in a little bit. And also my tech is super late. This is sort of a big mistake on my end. That probably really messed us up. But not having access to a second hero and, say, dryads and stuff really quick really is going to put us in a bad spot. So yeah, we're actually doing really good in the early game as far as everything goes, except for my tech is super delayed. I probably could have... trying to think. Oh, I tried to do these protectors. I don't know if he actually sees that. Let's see. No, he actually does not see the protector, so that's seemingly good. If I would have had maybe 2 more, it would have been a bigger threat. But now Teal's going to walk up and he is going to see them, I think. And we are focusing a farm, which if we would have just gone here and went right for the fiends, oh, that was a big mistake. That was one of the bigger mistakes in this game. Thinking back, I didn't really realize it, but Pat backed up, and we needed, like, I was sort of committed with the protectors, and we were in good shape, honestly, but we needed to be we needed to be on this side when the fiends came up, or heading to that direction when we saw him come up. Otherwise, though, he just pulled back. Like, he's damaged now, of course, but again, they weren't really well coordinated. Those protectors were probably like 60% of the way up. I think that, not necessarily like a huge blunder, but I do think it did allow them to get initiative and sort of get together. And he could have pulled militia at any point, so I'm not entirely sure we could have gotten those protectors up. But if they would have gotten, either one or both of them would have gotten up, I think that would have been a big help. Whereas otherwise I just had to cancel them, and then it didn't really help us. So, and then fighting the undead sort of, you know, on open ground with both of us, while the human was sort of out of position, I think that would have been really, really strong. So that was a slight, I'll say that was a slight blunder. Maybe it wasn't a massive one like I was sort of thinking, looking at his unit's damage. But anyway, we come in here to the undead. He TPs. The human's going to TP shortly after. Pat probably needs to get away from this towers. He's going to speed scroll out. So that's a good move. We force 2 town portals and we just run. This is one of the things that probably is to our advantage, the movement speed situation and the positioning. you know, we had pretty good positioning here. I'm trying to see what exactly sort of ruined our. Uh, let's see. This was probably not the greatest battle to take. I mean, yeah, I can probably get this rifleman kill. Oh my gosh, he killed it. So I didn't get the experience, but he killed it. So it died. But again, that didn't, you know, I took a bunch of damage too, so that was not really great. I'm going to come in here and pick up a bunch of mercenaries, and hopefully, in my head, it's a good time for me to turn around and overpower the human. Again, he doesn't have casters yet. Looks like he's about to be getting some sorks, but he doesn't have them yet. So this feels like a moment where I have the bigger army. If my micro is better, my micro is just really sloppy. These level 2 water elementals are allowing him to still fight this battle relatively easily. So I'm actually going to have to pull back. Again, if I would have microed better, this probably would have been fine. Let's see, do I have another entangle off? No, I think I turned around and killed his footman. Oh, the mud golem. Jeez, the mud golem is so vulnerable. So yeah, I need to micro better. That would have been good. Hopefully, wow, the pathing is just like completely effed. This is so dumb. Like, I wasn't specifically individually controlling the hunters or this ogre mauler, and then somehow he gets out of my group. I don't know. That was really unfortunate. So all in all, that was actually a terribly executed. I think if I executed that better, I would have won that battle. So that was really bad. It looks like Pat seemingly has sort of done a not great job. I think he wanted to get Spear Walkers, but they have changed the Spirit Walkers to come out of the Tauren Totem and not the Spear Lodge. So he ends up just going for Shaman. Maybe he wanted to get Shaman and Spirit Walkers because of the Water Elementals, and also to have Spirit Walkers for Spirit Link. I don't know, but at any rate, he's ended up with Shaman and Raiders, and they're gonna just be, oh, they're in depth, so he's got Lightning Shield, which could be interesting. Actually, this human base, yeah, if he comes down here with a depth Shaman, we could decimate this guy's base and his economy. But in the meantime, the enemies are out creeping us. Level 3 on the Death Knight, he's ahead of me. This is pretty good timing and positioning. Let's see. Pat's going to run into their army. That was sort of, you didn't know they were there, so that was sort of random. Coil Nova. Wow, that Death Knight has 400. Oh, he's got a robe with a Magi plus 6. That's going to be giving him like 90 extra mana, which is really unfortunate. So this is not a terrible battle for him to fight. The human is Town Portal to defend his base. Militia is going to lose a lot. I had a Troll Priest sort of get trapped in the TP there. But yeah, it looks like Pat can probably do okay here. He shouldn't. Is he going to kill that Death Knight? Oh my gosh, he was at 23 hit points. F. That was huge. Yeah, if he kills that Death Knight, this game is, I think, is going to go a lot differently. But sort of the timing didn't work out. So he ends up not killing the Death Knight. He pops an Invulnerability Potion. He lives. He manages to buy a Town Portal and escape. Whereas he didn't have a Town Portal before. So if he kills the Death Knight, he's going to be able to mop up like that whole army, basically. Probably 90% of it, including the maybe even the Lich. But for sure, most of it. And plus he's going to get the Death Knight kill. That's going to set them back massively. But in the meantime, he Town Portals out. He comes right back immediately. He's got all that mana, 400 mana. That's like, you know, 150 for every 2 Death Coils. So, you know, he's probably got like 5 or 6 Death Coils that he's gonna be chunking at us. So that's you know, 5 or 6 or whatever. So let's see, 5 would be 375. Or, no, 6, oh wait. Yeah, I guess he's only got, yeah, I guess he's close to 5 or whatever. But, anyways, that really, the momentum that allowed was really, really unfortunate for us. Because now, you know, they've got the undead army. which is not a massive amount of DPS in a base race, but allows him to run around quicker, and it is some DPS. You know, he's going to be able to throw death coils and novas at, you know, repair workers and heroes and stuff. Again, like I said, it's going to move around quicker. If you imagine him without, you know, maybe -2 fiends, minus the statues are going to keep their mana up along with brilliance, aura. You know, so my detonates are there. We're not going to be as powerful. I'm pretty sure he was able to pick off some stuff in that engagement in the middle. I'm still honestly a little bit surprised they were able to out base race us. They've got mostly piercing and magic damage, and we've got a bunch of raiders and mountain giants. Let's see, I'm at 40 food here. Pat's at 49 food. Maybe they were just at higher food counts. No. Oh, that's kind of weird. Maybe. Yeah, I guess we could have ignored this stuff like they did and just ran over the undead base. We needed to get some. We've got some buildings out here. Yeah, we probably should have just immediately ran to the undead base and knocked out their economy. Let's see, do they have town portals? They don't have town portals, either one of them. So yeah, that was a mistake to finish that human off with his economy gone. And maybe going here was a mistake. I wanted to open this up for an expansion and then go right to this guy's base. So timing wise, that might have been an error. I think we're not in terrible shape. Wow, somebody did have a town portal. Oh, the undead did. I didn't think he did. Okay, so they've got one economy open. Purple's alone, but they've got their army is just more effective in an engagement. I think if we play this correctly, we probably still we're still in bad shape because of the economy. Yeah, we should have ran immediately to Teal's base. I think that was the mistake. But they did have town portals, so fighting in the undead base was probably going to be a no-go there. So we need to pull back to this ancient war. Pat stands in there, takes like a full flame strike, so that sucks. Now I'm going to come in the side. And then I take a look at these armies, and I'm just like, I don't feel confident that we can win this. The mountain giants aren't, they're support units and tanking units. They don't have a lot of DPS, even against fiends. Maybe I didn't think we could win this fight, so I was pulling back, and Pat was just going all in. Yeah, that was probably on me. We needed to be on the same page, whatever we decided to do, and so that was poor judgment. I really don't think we had good odds to win this fight. He almost killed the Archmage, which again he maybe could have pulled off if I was there. These two treants got stuck, so that's an annoyance. But yeah, I think they had too much sustain for us to win that a heads-up fight. So I don't think we needed to fight them. And they had the 3,000 gold left at the base, so we either had to engage and win this fight now, or we had to like get some kind of hit and run and distract them while that expansion that we were building goes up. But again, we didn't have well, I had some production abilities, but no food. So it was going to take us a long time to really make use of any economy that we were able to get up if we were able to buy ourselves, maybe 4 minutes. So that was a bad situation. As far as what we could have done differently, I think there were a couple of spots where our execution was poor. Again, I took a battle and didn't execute well enough on the micro end. So what could have maybe been sort of a winning engagement was probably break even or worse, losing, since I lost an Ogre Magi and a Mud Golem. That's 6 food worth of units, about 435 gold, I think. So that's a lot of resources just to dump off and unit experience given to them. A couple of spots where the human killed his own units to deny me experience, so that kept me at level 3 instead of 4, probably. The one spot where, with another 1 second of attacks, one volley basically, Pat could have killed the Death Knight, but he happened to have a potion of invulnerability, and the Death Knight did not have a tome, or it did not have a town portal scroll, so it was a little risky to go for him, and it didn't pay off because the hex wore off before he was able to kill him, which allowed him to use his invulnerability potion, which subsequently allowed him to escape to the shop, buy a town portal, get away with minimal losses. So that could have broke our way. Again, if that Death Knight dies, I think that breaks our way and we win the game, just point blank. But since he didn't, he had all that mana and stuff, and killing a level 4 hero is a pretty big jump in experience. So I don't know if it would have gotten either of us to higher hero levels, but it certainly would have put the undead behind a ton of resources, a ton of time. It takes a long time to revive a level 4 hero, unless he's going to spend the resources to tavern him back. And if he does that, he comes back with 0 mana and half hit points, which is fine, even though he's got Brilliant Aura and statues. That's going to be a benefit to us. On the other side, if he gets him at his altar, he's going to come back with only 100 mana instead of 400. So that was a pretty massive difference there. And again, it's the little things. You might say, well, I'll come back with 100 mana versus 400, or whatever. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's like, it's a bunch of little things added together, because not only if he kills that hero, he probably kills like everything else. Maybe the Lich escapes. I don't know if he does or not, but maybe a unit or two instead of the Lich. But a lot of those things are going to die if he loses the Death Knight there, because of Ensnare and Hex and Purge. He was well set up to punish the undead player when he didn't have a town portal. So if he's able to punish him severely there, that's going to throw him way behind, which makes that later battle, again, or the subsequent battles, much harder for them to win. We don't have to worry about level 2 Death Coil. We may or may not have to worry about level 2 Nova. Unholy Aura is going to not let them run around as fast, so if we're base racing or if they're chasing or trying to run, it's going to be not as bad for us. And or they're going to have to spend a ton of resources to revive that hero at the tavern, and then the hero's going to come back with like half hit points, which makes it more vulnerable in a fight. Plus, he didn't have a town portal before he went to the shop, so he might find himself in another situation where he still doesn't have a town portal, and he's going to be at risk there. So yeah, all that stuff together, it makes a difference. Minus 1 or 2 fiends, minus 1 or 2 statues, maybe minus the Lich, maybe not. A Death Knight with maybe 60 or 70% hit points, and maybe 100 mana, or full hit points and maybe 150, 200 mana. Those are much different situations than the one that we had since he missed that kill. So again, I don't want to pin that on him. I mean, it was a reasonable risk to take. He almost got the kill. He just didn't work out. He maybe didn't know he had an invulnerability potion. If he doesn't have that invulnerability potion, it probably doesn't matter when the hex wears off. All that stuff. But anyways, I think that was a pretty close game. You look at the units killed, it was sort of lopsided. But again, it could have, like I said, a couple of things go a little bit differently, and it's a totally different ball game. But these opponents did fairly well in the execution. The strategies worked out well. Again, my tech was delayed, so that was probably another problem. It took me a while to have a second hero, which makes me much weaker in the mid game when they get casters, when they get statues and their second heroes out. I would have been applying more pressure with Dryads. I could abolish those water elementals so they wouldn't be nearly as sort of game changing at level 2. And again, preventing them from running, making it harder for them to chase with the Dryads. Immune to Flame Strike, immune to Nova, all that stuff, immune to Death Coil, immune to all the caster damage. Dryads would have been decent. They didn't really have much to a really great way to kill Mountain Giants. So a Mountain Giant or 2 probably would have been very disruptive and tank a lot of damage. And dish out a decent amount against the Fiends, should I, and or maybe Heroes, if I was able to get there to them. So, the Dark Ranger probably wasn't, I don't know, the Dark Ranger was maybe okay. It had silence for all those human casters. I don't know how in the caster heroes, you know, mana siphon and everything. But I don't know how strong Silence was. If maybe Howl of Terror would have been more appropriate or stronger, or Alchemist. You know, that's Keeper of the Grove Alchemist is sort of the go-to now. So Alchemist is certainly one option I could have went for. Whether it would have made the difference or not is questionable. Healing Healing Spray and Acid Bomb, both are pretty effective in different sort of. Of course, they do different roles. One's a healing spell, one's a damage spell. So, but yeah, those slight mistakes, or the slight things that break one way or the other, certainly can make a difference. Again, the undead getting a Robe of the Magi, I mean, that is a great item for the undead player. Either you put him on the Death Knight for the extra mana and mana regeneration and no bonus damage, or you put it on the Lich for the the mana. He still gets the mana and the mana regeneration, but he also gets an extra 6 damage. I think at the end of the game he might have shifted that to the Lich. I'm not sure, but either way, he's going to be getting a massive boost to his damage output in the form of 90 mana plus mana regeneration boost from all that intelligence, just from the Robe of the Magi. So that's a really great item drop that he got. And again, not that he didn't seem to be running out of mana, so maybe he didn't take full advantage of it. But again, certainly having that amount of mana for when he needed it in a battle is pretty massive, for healing and for damage dealing. So I wouldn't discount that as sort of a good thing for them. But yeah, there were things we needed to do differently. Again, would have been different if Spirit Walkers instead of Shaman. I don't know. Purge is pretty useful to chase stuff. And Lightning Shield can be useful as well. So Spirit Link is good for sustain. We didn't really have healing though. We didn't have great healing. So it's not as strong if you don't have like really good healing. I mean, Spirit Link is still useful. Disenchant is still very useful, but when you have like statues, for example, like Undead Orc, if you got statues, Spirit Link is insane because it synergizes so well with that AoE healing. If you've got the Shadow Hunter with Heal Wave, that's going to be pretty good. It does have good synergy with Heal Wave, but that's just one source of healing. It's pretty mana intensive. If I had Healing Spray, Heal Spray and Heal Wave, that would have been good synergy with Spirit Link. Not that we had it, but if we did have Spirit Link, that would have been good. Of course, you can't Spirit Link Dryads, so if I had Dryads, it doesn't really apply. Mountain Giant, it would be good on Mountain Giants too. Mountain Giants have a massive amount of hit points, really a ton. So just having Spirit Link on Mountain Giants to soak up all that damage. So even if they're not being disrupted too much with Taunt, the Spirit Link itself is going to be shifting some of the damage to the Mountain Giants as well. So that's one way to do it as well. So that Spirit Link would have probably been fairly useful. They didn't. Yeah, AoE disenchant for AoE dispel would have been very useful for slow, I believe, because purge, obviously you have to purge every individual unit, and that's not really efficient. Again, Dryads with Abolish Magic, I think at the end I probably had that, but not in mass. So, and again, at the end it was maybe a little bit too late. So yeah, I think there were a lot of things we could have done better there, certainly. Again, a couple things break our way. I think we can win that game as well pretty easily. So, but yeah, it didn't. So that was pretty frustrating to lose that game. Because we did have a pretty strong early game. I thought I teched earlier, but I didn't. So that really hurt me specifically, my team. So it was unfortunate. But yeah, those guys were pretty solid players. Their strategy worked really well together. The statues, the Brilliant Aura, and the undead with like super mana because of Brilliance Aura and the item drops and the statues is really, especially if they get leveled, it's really hard to deal with, especially with intelligence heroes. You know, we had some squishy heroes. The Keeper, the Farseer, both pretty squishy, and then the Dark Ranger and the Shadow Hunter were intelligence heroes, but you know, or sorry, they're agility heroes, not intelligence heroes. So agility heroes tend to not have a ton of hit points, but they have decent armor generally. But armor does not really help against nuke spells. You'd rather have the hit points there. So, for that specific aspect, you'd rather have more hit points. So they're not great at tanking. These heroes, unlike some of the other agility heroes, don't have, I guess, if you want to say drain life and heal wave can sort of help save them. And again, their movement speed is generally decent. But again, like other heroes like the Blade Master and the Demon Hunter, they don't have something like Windwalk or Evasion to really help them tank better. Plus, they don't quite have that armor. I think the Blade Master and the Demon Hunter might have 5 armor each. It might be down to 4. I'm not 100% there, but they have really high armor values and really high hit points. So I think they have more, but they are melee heroes. So, but anyways, all that stuff said, I thought the game was pretty good. Again, it always is frustrating to feel like you're doing pretty decent and then lose the game. But yeah, that's just the way it went. So, as far as other things we could have done differently, probably tried to force them to town portal to the undead before they destroyed Pat's base. If we could do that, that would make it a pretty big difference because, you know, we wouldn't have been down on economy and sort of forced to take an engagement that we may or may not win. You know, it puts us on a clock where, you know, the longer we wait, when they have an economy and production available, the worse it's going to be for us. So, you know, we don't want to be in that position if at all possible. So if we could avoid that, that would have been great. You know, so that's, you know, another sort of thing that we could have thought about. But let's see, gold lost to upkeep. They both lost gold to upkeep. We did not, but that means that their armies were larger. So let's see, largest army 60 and 54. So purple didn't really have a big advantage over us, but teal getting up to 60 food was a pretty big deal. And again, I think if like I said, the things break our way, he doesn't maintain that army, and so maybe a little bit less scary at the end there, or you know, in the second to last battles. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this audio. Hopefully you found these games somewhat entertaining. The advice, again, useful. As far as the strategies go, Farseer Keeper of the Grove is not a terrible strategy. Again, they buffed both actually in the recent patches. Dark Ranger second, a little bit more questionable. But again, I don't think it was a terrible pick, given that the human was massing casters. I guess in some sense you can say destroyers are going to make silence and skeleton much less useful. Being undead is actually a fairly useful trait against this hero combo. But would a Pit Lord have been stronger? I would say yeah, probably a Pit Lord probably would have been maybe stronger. I don't know. If I can hit silence on like every human caster and then maybe a hero or two, I think that's a very powerful move. But again, if they get destroyers, then it's less so because they can devour magic on all that stuff. So plus, if I miss like one adept priest, he can dispel silence pretty easily. So sort of a risk reward type thing. And then the Pit Lord, I think you can dispel Howl of Terror as well, but his base stats are just a little better, I think. And he's got the passive cleave, which I think would be useful. So I don't know, it's sort of a hard thing to say. And then thinking about the Alchemist, he's not undead, so he's a little bit more vulnerable. Maybe his skills are more versatile, harder to counter specifically. which is another contention to think about. So, plus he dishes out a lot of damage. His DPS is actually probably higher than both the Pit Lord and the Dark Ranger. At least in the early game, the Pit Lord might sort of eclipse him once he gets like level 4 and 5, because Cleave starts jumping the damage quite a bit. But early, you know, low level, the Alchemist is one of the highest DPS heroes actually. So with his attacks, so especially once you get Chemical Rage, if you do so, or Acid Bomb, either one of those. So, but anyways, it's gonna be the end of the audio. This is ScryMind signing out.